In today's video, we're going to talk about why you give a piece of yourself every single time you step on the mats in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We live in this finite lifespan from about 20 to 80 years, depending on your life expectancy, but we have much less time on the mats, and there will come a day that's your last day training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. This is the sad fact of being immortal on this plane of existence. So when you roll with somebody who maybe doesn't let go as soon as they should on a tap, moves like grinding their elbow into your neck, you're giving a piece of yourself to that person whether you want to or not. This is why it's so important who you choose to train with in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. There are certain things you can do to prolong your life expectancy, like exercise, eat right, train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is a form of exercise. But this doesn't take away from the fact that you only have a certain number of times you can choose to train with somebody. So it's very important that the people you let into your life in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu are people you can trust. Now, this is going to come down from the top down. The leader of the gym is going to set the training environment for everybody else. If the person at the head of the gym is someone who tolerates, let's just say, an unhealthy sparring mentality, meaning anything goes and we don't have common respect for each other, it's not going to be very good, because then the people who are on the mats with them will start to feed off that, and then an unhealthy training environment proliferates. So if you're in an unhealthy training environment, and let's say they're the only gym around, it's going to be very difficult to protect yourself, because every single time you roll with somebody, you're at risk of getting your knee popped or your leg popped, or even just having an elbow grinded into your neck can leave you with some damage. And you don't have an infinite number of those things you can take. If you start Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu when you're a bit older, you'll notice this a lot more. Young guys such as myself are able to train really, really hard and the next day sort of shake it off and recover. But this will eventually come back to haunt you. So if you're someone who just goes as hard as they can every single roll no matter what, you'll find that you're going to get injured. And maybe you don't get injured today, maybe you don't get injured tomorrow, but eventually these little damages that happen are going to add up. This is why people who maybe start in their 30s or 40s are a lot more careful who they pick to train with. If you're used to going to bed and waking up sore the next day, and you have like an actual job, that's going to be a problem, because you're not going to be able to represent the best version of yourself if you're constantly beat up. So when you choose to pick training partners, you have to go with people you can trust. And if you can't trust them, you better hope your skill level in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is high enough to where you can negate any of the negative moves that they're doing. Say, for example, you roll with someone who is younger than you and maybe they wrestled for a very long period of time. If you're in the closed guard, they might try to do what's called a can opener, where they take their hands and they sort of crunch your neck down. Well, if you're flexible enough, you can kind of eat that, you can kind of move around, you can kind of not get hurt, but that's going to add up. If you're grinding on your vertebrae every single day, eventually the day is going to come when you're 30 or 40 and you're going to be walking around hurt all the time. And if you're trying to train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as long as you possibly can, you're going to have to figure out how not to get damaged sometimes. If you want to not get damaged and you're not that skilled, you're going to have to tap early and tap often. And it can be a little embarrassing. It can honestly hurt our egos somewhat. If, say, for example, you are in an uncomfortable situation and the person is grinding an elbow into your neck or trying to smother you, or I guess smothering isn't going to add that much damage to you, but essentially rolling so hard that you're incurring damage, you should tap. And it sucks to tap to a move that isn't a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu move, but it's going to protect yourself in the long run. Because no matter how many ways you slice it, there's a finite number of times you can step on the mat in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So you can protect yourself by being so much better than them that you just put them in bad positions the whole time, and if you're on their back, there's really not much they can do other than accidentally headbutt you, but even then you can avoid that if you're careful. This is why getting good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu allows you to train much more safely. But if you're not that good, let's say for example you're a white belt and you're just starting out, you're going to have to protect yourself by tapping really, really early. And this is one of the problems that new blue belts run into, is they're sort of good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but you're still a beginning belt. So when you're rolling with new, maybe even slightly experienced white belts, you're not going to want to tap, because technically that move that they hit you in is not a move that you should tap to. If they're cranking on your neck or driving an elbow in your face, you should still tap, because on the training mats, that's your opportunity to get better. That's your opportunity to make friends and really just enjoy yourself. If you're on the competition mat, that's your opportunity to test yourself and see what you're made of. So please protect yourself at all times, and realize that if you're sparring with somebody who is trying their hardest to hurt you, you should stop. You should no longer engage with them. You should tap. And if you tap to someone who's trying to hurt you because they think that's the goal, they shouldn't be your training partner. Stay safe out there. Peace.